But why do you feel that he's now come out and said that it's not how things work and that the outrage is fabricated?
Because he's a novice in the game and he's been infiltrated with shit.
I don't think you got to be a DAZN fan or an Eddie Hearn fan to agree with what I'm saying. If Sky are not prepared to go in bids against their rivals, they should get up out of boxing. That's what they should do. Yeah? The other year, Frank Warren sent Denzel Bentley over to Sky when Matchroom was still there to defend the British title against Felix Cash, and it didn't work out very well for Denzel or BT or Queensbury or Frank Warren. Frank had to take the L and rebuild Denzel, and he's done a good job of that because that's boxing. In fact, part of the rebuilding job of Denzel Bentley for Queensbury was sending him over to Wasserman, Channel 5. I'm assuming they lost the purse bid and they took on Lionel Udofia, and Bentley won well in a very good fight. Very good fight. Frank boosted his fighter's marketability from the Felix Cash loss, and Denzel boosted his own confidence to go on to have that credible fight with everybody's favourite Eastern European Murderers Row fighter Johnny Beck. And then, oddly, what's happened? Bentley has been rebuilt by BT and himself and his trainers, and he has the higher profile than Felix Cash now. That's how the swings and turns work in boxing. If Sky are not prepared to take L's, they should get up out of boxing. They should get up out of boxing. Eddie Hearn had no problem letting Dalton Smith go over to Boxer and take on Casey Benjamin. Dalton Smith won it and came back. Even then, Ben was talking about, oh, Dalton's out of contract, we're going to try and sign him. Like, the desperation to sign Matchroom fighters is looking pathetic. It's looking really pathetic. Eddie sent John Ryder out to BT to fight Zach Parker. You can't be in the UK trying to make fights, but only on the proviso that you can have both fighters signed to your promotional roster. That can't work. It's not sustainable. It's risk reward. Either you, if it's coming out of your pocket or Sky's pocket, you got to put up the dough and gamble. What was Eddie's gamble with Ryder? Well, if he lost, he'd have to either rebuild or shelve Ryder. One of the two. The reward, he went on to get a career highest payday against Canelo. That's how it's done. Frank Warren wasn't saying, let's see if we can sign John Ryder and make the fight. I've never seen that type of behaviour from Frank, and I've seen some fucked up shit from Frank, but that style of promoting there, it's just like weird, man. Weird. I think Sky are looking worse than Ben Shalom, because Ben Shalom is replaceable. We can get rid of Ben Shalom today, and by the end of the year, we will never talk about him again. You'll never mention his name. He'll be forgotten, because he has no legacy. You know, if they push Frank Warren out the door at BT and Queensbury, or Eddie Hearn out the door of Matchroom and DAZN, will we still be talking about them months and days later? Yes! Yes! So get it together, Sky. Get it together. I get Shane McGuigan's frustrations. He's saying Eddie sat there and did nothing, as Chantel Cameron basically pushed Ellie Scottney from off this big card on Saturday at the Free Arena in Ireland, where Chantel Cameron defends her undisputed 140-pound titles against Katie Taylor. Like, for those that don't know, Chantel Cameron wasn't going to fight because Shane trains Ellie Scottney. He used to train Chantel. Chantel left Cyclones Promotions, which Shane and his dad used to run. And it seemed like it was a very stressful period in Chantel Cameron's life. She thought her career was over, and she's obviously got a lot of carryover from her experience working with the McGuigans that she doesn't want them around. And like, it's not like she hasn't fought before when Shane's trained other fighters on cards, but it seems like this fight here in particular, she just can't get her head around focusing while his energy is present in the press conferences, the workouts, the weigh-ins, etc., and then the fight. And Shane is saying Eddie just sat there and did nothing and basically caved in to Cameron's demands because obviously, I mean, like, Katie Taylor is the biggest draw in boxing, women's boxing. I mean, if Eddie's going to save any fight on the card, he's going to save Katie Taylor's fight. Because if Katie Taylor's fight is not prioritized, and even Eddie Scottney will have to recognize this, women's boxing in this country getting on television is marginalized very much if Katie Taylor's fight is not prioritized. The security costs for her return to Ireland are exorbitant because of the issues they've had over there before professional boxing had to take a little hiatus over there because of all the issues from the Regency, etc., etc. And Conor McGregor has offered to ease the burden of the security costs. He's basically became a sponsor for the event on Saturday, and I think he'll be around as well if Katie wins and becomes a 2-time undisputed champion in 2 weights. And if Amanda Serrano wins her next fight, we go to Croke Park, stadium fight. I understand Shane's frustrations. I think he's more frustrated that Chantelle wouldn't buckle. I think he's more frustrated with Chantelle than Eddie. I think he understands the reason that fight was prioritized. What I'd like to know is what went on between the McGuigans and Cameron that the split was so acrimonious. Why was she so distressed? Was it because, maybe the female hormones flared up? I have a feeling it's got something to do with the Kinahan situation and her trying to get away from the McGuigans and then making it very difficult, even more so because of the Kinahan connection. And she's trained by Jamie Moore. Say no more. In saying that, Ellie Scottney's fight for the World Super Bantam title will be in Wembley Arena. Sonny Edwards headlines against Andres Campos. So it's a decent card. She still gets paid and gets a chance to win a world title. I tell you what, Shannon must be one of the most unpopular British fighters. Like, for various stuff that she said and done, she just hasn't come off very well. Like, when she lost the world title to the American, the excuses she made after. And, she's pulled out of this Nina Hughes fight for the bantamweight title, which Nina was the champion of. And she says she has a knee injury. But everyone suspects that, that she's not in shape. She can't make the weight. She knows she can't make the weight. Head's not in the right place. And she's pulled out. Nina will take on the to be announced. And she'll stay busy. It's a family affair. Or is it a family feud? Daniel Dubois, 15-0. With a whole load of KOs. Lost his unbeaten record to Joe Joyce 2020. Stopped in the 10th round. That was November 2020. Shortly after that, early 2021, he appointed Mark Tibbs as his new trainer. Unfortunately, they didn't make it to the ring as fighter and coach for one fight, and the partnership was over. A lot of people say that Daddy Daniel, Dave Dubois, has what perhaps Mark Tibbs and Shane McGuigan would say is an overbearing presence in Daniel's career. This is what Danny Flexen asked Mark Tibbs shortly after Daniel and Mark split.
I wish him all the best.
I know you don't want to go down that road, but based on that Boxing Social interview, it seems to be there was an issue perhaps with his dad being a little more involved than perhaps you would like. It's not the first time someone said that. Rumours have been going around for a while about that issue. Was that part of it?
I don't want to talk about it, Dan, to tell the truth.
Now, you heard that, and with the recent parting of Daniel and Shane being rumoured to be a family feud, which family member do we think we're talking about? We're not talking about Caroline Dubois, for one. Caroline is still training with Shane. So it looks like Dave, and maybe Daniel as well, are not clicking with Shane. Is this because of the Lorena performance where the cruiserweight had Daniel on the deck 3 times and it looked like an upset defeat was on the cards? Listening to Stamina for Sale, Don Charles seems to be the new appointment as Daniel's coach. Derek Chisora and Don reunited for the Pulev fight and Tyson Fury. I think Don is a good trainer, personally, but that's my opinion. 9 days till the purse bid for Dubois Alexander USYK for the Unified Heavyweight Championship. The purse bid will go out at a minimum of $1 million, with USYK the beneficiary of a 75-25 split. Deontay Wilder has been pushed up into the number 1 spot, and should Daniel elect to withdraw over his knee injury, which I'm not getting, have they not confirmed that they're fit to fight? And if not, why are the WBA going through with the purse bid if the challenger hasn't confirmed that he's fit and ready to go? I don't get that. I don't get what happened to Martin Bacoli. They installed him as the number 1 challenger to fight Daniel, And now Wilder's just hopped over Bacoli. I mean, Martin hasn't lost since they installed him as the number one challenger. I don't get that at all. I don't get that. The purse bid is interesting. How much will Beatty and Frank Warren stump up to pay 75% of whatever to Alexander USYK, who I would assume will be a considerable favourite? Has Frank done a deal where they have some options on USYK if they're going to pay him this huge sum of money? Perhaps. Will any outsiders bid for the fight? Sky, DAZN? I understand the Lomachenko love. I like Lomachenko. I understand it. But I think there's been a bit of reaching. All these videos, oh, this is how you beat Devin, and that's how you beat Devin. And Devin's not unbeatable. Of course he's not. I've seen examples of how certain people have got inside of Devin, all of whom are bigger fighters than Lomachenko. One of them of Mexican heritage, who fights way more aggressively than Lomachenko. It's not a good example. This is how you get inside Devin's longer arms. You're using the example of someone who will take 3 to land 1. It's not a good example. It just isn't. It just ain't. And we're talking about the fighter who they used as their example of what Loma's got to do, got washed by Devin on the scorecards. I'm not going to say who the fighter is because I don't want to give away the person who made the video, because I like the person who made the video. So I'll leave that there. You see, boxing plays out how it plays out. Gary Russell is a small featherweight. He's not a big featherweight. I believe he took at least 4 or 5 rounds of Lomachenko. But Lomachenko definitely won the rounds he won. It wasn't like, 7-5, it could have went either way. No, this was 7-5. Lomachenko clearly won the rounds he won. And I wouldn't just put it down to size why Lomachenko won, but it definitely helped. Not so much that Lomachenko was bullying him around the ring, it just helped him execute what he wanted to do with the longer arms and reach, like movement and jabs. And then Rigondeaux, clearly not a super featherweight, quit in his corner against Lomachenko. As technically blessed as Rigo is, he couldn't beat a bigger man, technically gifted as Lomachenko. He couldn't beat him. He couldn't beat him. And I'm here to tell the Lomachenko fans, there's nothing guaranteed. I believe Devin wins, but it's not nailed on. It's not nailed on at all. I expect Lomachenko, with his vast experience and ability, to be Devin's hardest fight of his career. That's what I expect. At the same time, I expect that to bring out the best in Devin. You know, people, Lomachenko's 35. He's 35. He's fighting a 24-year-old who's just finding himself as a pro. They've got Loma listed as 5'7". I don't think Loma's 5'7". Devin's only 1 inch taller than Loma. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Devin's got a 71-inch reach. Loma's reach is about 66. 5-inch reach disadvantage to a boxer, a pure boxer. Listen, I'll say this. I believe Loma needs circumstances outside matching them skill to skill. He needs circumstances like Devin is basically emaciating himself to make 135. He needs circumstances like that in play. I believe Lomachenko will need a stoppage to win the fight. I don't see Lomachenko outboxing Devin for the majority of 12 rounds. I don't see it. I don't see it. And if he outslugs him, like, whoa, that'd be one of the biggest shocks as a boxing fan for me. If he outslugs Devin, like outpunches him. Yes, I believe Devin wins the fight. I just do. If the size disparity wasn't so pronounced, different fight. There has to be wear and tear on Loma's body. Whoever's taking the measurements here, like, that's not 1 inch, man. There's not a 1 inch difference here. There's at least 3 inches difference, at least 3 or 4. It's not like you're coming up against an athlete who believes he's got his dues. Devin doesn't believe he's got his dues. He believes that a lot of people disrespect him as a fighter. So he's not going in there like, I don't really have nothing to prove. No, he's got a lot to prove. He's got a lot to prove. He's going in there with a chip on his shoulder. You know, Devin's saying that Loma's starting the whole email champion nonsense. Now put me on the pound for pound list. He said he's going to make Loma pay for all what he's put him through. And we're talking about when Devin won the Eliminator, and then they came up with some franchise nonsense. And it's only now, after Loma was beaten by Kambosos and Lopez lost them belts to the Australian and Devin beat the Australian twice, that he's getting his chance for payback. So for Devin, he wants to prove something. A lot of people have spoke about Devin's lack of power. No, he's not a big hitter. That's not really what Loma has to worry about, though. He has to worry about Devin landing consistent and busting his face up potentially. Don't tell me Devin can't punch that he can't bust your face up, because he can. And that's more the worry than the one-punch knockout threat. I don't congratulate Loma on taking the fight. I mean, that's what he's about. His career has always been about taking on the best and biggest challenges. That's why he is so highly regarded. I'd expect nothing less from Lomachenko but stepping up to take a difficult fight like this. I'd expect nothing less. But, you know, Devin has more to prove. If Devin loses this, they're going to be like, oh man, you had youth, size advantage, and considerable youth and size advantages, and you couldn't do nothing with him. Whereas if Loma loses at 35, they'll say, well, one of the greatest Olympians, great pro career, just came up against a bigger and younger guy tonight. And, you know, if he chooses to end it on a loss to Devin, they'll be singing his eulogies from night till morning, and deservedly so. So Devin has it all to fight for. He has it all to fight for. And if he does win, like I predict, he better prepare himself for large sections of the media, Lomachenko fans, still not giving him the full credit he deserves. Some of them are going to say that age and size is the only thing to beat Loma. Devin's boring, and, you know, that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. We'll see how it plays out in the ring, though. That's where it counts. You know what I mean? I just gave you my opinion, my take.